Now it's a thing because I do it. I do it every time, and now it's a thing. But I'm going to make it my thing because I don't know. Anybody who I've met in person is cool with the dancing. Happy Wednesday, y'all. It's a girl, AP, Elisa Perifico, your date strategist, whatever you want to call me, person that's here to show you how to fall in love and get laid. That's what I do. And I'm so excited for tonight because you guys are kind of seeing like an on-camera reunion a little bit because my girl, Dr. Christie's in the house, and she's going to be so proud of me because I think I'm going to say her name correctly. Hold on. Well, it's date Dr. Christie for show. But Dr. Christie Kederian, I think that's correct. And she'll tell me if it's not when she comes on. But anyway, she's coming on later in a little bit shortly tonight because we're going to talk about so many things. But anyway, I haven't connected with her yet prior to us even chatting. So you guys you're gonna have to let us have a little session before we get to your questions. But anyway, so excited for that because she's literally a triple doctor. She's the most brilliant human ever. And like a doctor, PhD, like seriously. And she has her whole life in front of her. I can't wait for her to just continue to grow in all the ways that she has. But anyway, my favorite part about Christie is that she brings so much science and culture and just general life right now, bringing that energy to people being single. She's, she ain't your granny's matchmaker, date coach, all of it. So anyway, we're going to chat with her later. But tonight, if you're here and you're hanging out with us on this Wednesday or whatever day it is, it's definitely Wednesday. We're here because we can all share this effort or this struggle that you are somebody that is like, yo, is this person I'm talking to, are they worth my time? Are they worth my effort? And that is we are talking about today on our episode because a lot of you have that question, right? You guys sit there, whether you're dating in person, whether you're dating online, whether you're dating in general, right? Or just getting to know somebody new, you really question this sort of, is this going to go somewhere? This like ping pong, this mindless ping pong of dating somebody new. And, and I ask you guys, like, why? Like, why are you dating this way? Why is this the way? And everybody's answer is like, because that's the only way that I know. Like, it's just like you date and maybe you meet somebody by chance or algorithm or whatever. And isn't that a little weird that we leave all of that up to like mystery? Guys, come on. So what I want to talk a little bit about tonight is that, yes, you guys can't control the internet. Yes, you can't control who you meet. But in reality, you can control a lot of the strategy that goes behind how you approach somebody or how you meet them and what circles you put yourself in. Because whether you know it or not, we are all victims of the internet, whether we like it or not. And if you are seeking love, if you are seeking a relationship, if you're seeking a connection, you have to be extra careful where you're putting your eyes and your attention, because that, my friend, is where your heart is going to go. So let's bring this up. Enough of the ranting, because here I go on the rant. But you're in the right place if you're just tired of surface connections that go nowhere. They go nowhere. Over it. Just over it. I'm so over it. All right, this is you. God, like, you just saying hi. Like, hi. Like, whatever. You're just saying hi. Just like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what do I say hi? Like, hey, you? Like, what's hey, you? Like, how many texts do you have to write for him to come over and pull his pants off? No. Wrong. And then same with the guys, right? Come on, guys, be a little bit more creative. What do you want, right? We have to give levels. So you are in the right place. If you're tired of surface connections that go nowhere, if you're ready to stop wasting time and you're ready to find someone real, right? You're just ready to push aside all that bullshit, and you're ready for the real stuff. And number 3, everything you've been trying or not trying, okay, up until now hasn't worked out. Props. By the way, if you're number 3, props. I want you to own it. I want you to say it, because here's the thing. Like, the only way you're going to get something different is, 1, recognize that you haven't been doing anything differently to get that thing different. Or 2, recognize that, hey, you've given it a real shot. Okay. If you're honestly saying you've given a real shot, then let's examine and let's get you what you want, because what you're seeking is not that far away. You're looking around the wrong bush. All right. Enough of my weird anecdotes. Okay, cool. So let's dive in a little bit more, like I like to, my little fireside chat. I feel like as these episodes go, I'm going to start bringing in a pipe. I'm just going to get like more and more granny-like, which I'm already, if you know me at all, I'm already very granny-like. So like the more we're going to be like, welcome to fireside chat. Oops, sorry, microphone. Okay, here we go. So my first question for you all on this lovely Wednesday night. What do you look for in a new love interest? And I say love interest for all of our, oh my gosh, all of the different, dare I say, millennials and Gen X and Z and boomers and whatever. Okay, because love interest can be so many things. This is a person that you're just chatting with on the internet. Is it somebody you're meeting in a group? Is it, it could be so many things, right? So what do you look for in a new love interest? Do you know, right? That's my favorite question. Do you know? Like, have you made a list? Have you written it down? Because if you're not sure what you're looking for in someone new, or if you haven't at least written down what you think it is in your brain, how can you be sure that that person in front of you or what you're doing is actually in line with what you want, right? So I do want you guys to tell me, write it, post it, message it. What do you look for in a new love interest? And be very, very specific. Don't just say, hot. Don't tell me, a normal guy. What is normal to you? Another question I have for you, and probably my hottest one right now. What's your biggest disappointment in dating? Why are we so upset beyond just the normal bitching? I get it. And by the way, if this is your first time here, welcome to Matchmaker Live. Matchmaker Live. No, but here, if this is your first round of bitching, you get one round, you bitch, go for it. But then understand that here we dig a layer deeper. We dig emotionally and psychologically. We connect everything and we dig deeper. So if you're here just to bitch and you haven't actually worked on your love life and you don't really, you think you just deserve things, this ain't your hood, okay? But you get one rant and then you move on. Okay. So what is your biggest disappointment with dating after you've realized and raised your hand and said, hey, I've actually done some things. I've tried. You're raising your hand saying, Elisa, no, I'm not that complainer person. I'm doing these things. I'm showing up. I'm doing the meetup things, and I don't even want to do the meetup things. That's what you're telling me. You're like, I don't even want to do the meetup things. You're like, can't someone just like bop me on the head and say, hey, can I just get an email? It's like, hey, I have this perfect person for you. The fact that you're only painting that very, 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 very small scenario is the reason that we're still stuck. Yeah. So let's break this down just a hair. If your biggest disappointment in dating at the moment is this concept of failure, right? And I know I talk about this a lot, but I feel like it resonates. This idea that we weren't taught to fail, right? In dating, especially. In fact, the opposite. We haven't been taught to fail. In fact, we've been taught that this first relationship of yours could be the last one. It could be the most precious one. So don't you dare mess it up because it could be the thing, right? So that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for most of us when we're 15 or 16 or whenever this happens to you. So, but that's not your 15 or 16-year-old case when you're training for your favorite sport, right? When you're ready to play for the football team, you're going to fail. You're not going to be the best. Or you're playing an instrument, or you're studying a language, or a subject, right? All of these things you're studying, and unless you're a prodigy, you have failed in some capacity. And by the way, that's acceptable and that's good, because the more you failed means you're going to hit that moment of succession, the moment you're going to succeed. And that's what you want, right? But in love, it's like, what? You're not supposed to do anything at all and it's supposed to work for you? What? Wait, hold on. I'm supposed to just like be alive, and like love is just supposed to happen in all of its glory. Like, I'm amazing. You must be amazing. We all must be amazing that we just attract this love and we don't do anything. I know. I hope you're laughing with me, because I hope you hear the ridiculousness, because that's a little bit what we're here to do, is just kind of blow up the ridiculousness just a hair, because not people don't do it enough. And that's the reason y'all are like lonely and sad and you're scrolling and doing the things. Okay. You can tell I move on from the questions when I'm tired of hearing myself talk, because I really want you guys to hear Christie talk. Okay. And then third question, and then we're going to bring Christie on, because okay. Third question I have for you is, what is keeping you from finding a decent date online? So again, if you are in the camp of, yes, I've been online for a really long time, like get off my back. What's keeping you from finding that decent date? Okay. And if you're not online, that's cool too. But like, what's keeping you from finding a decent date, period? What is it? Like, be specific. Is it your circumstances? Is it transportation? Is it your head? Have you not thought about it? The more real you are, the more you come to grips with this, the more we're going to get you what you want, which is what we do here. We make wishes come true. Wizard of Oz. Actually, he didn't really do that, did he? I got to think of a different comparison. All right, enough of that, you guys. Let's talk to my girl. I'm going to bring on my girl, Christie, and I'm going to give her a couple extra moments to judge because I'm all like, I probably like surprised her, just be like, hey, what's up? Anyway, I'm so excited to bring her on. The date Dr. Christie. Just bring her on. She's going to bring her on right now. I can't wait to see her. Oh my gosh. There she is. Ah!
Hi. Oh my goodness.
I did warn them that we would have a little bit of a reunion on camera. And then I did say, I was like, don't squeal. And I squealed. Oh, I'm the worst.
I'm feeling loud. It's so good to see you.
Oh my gosh, seriously, you're amazing. Hi, so good to see you. How are you?
Oh gosh, so great now that I'm chatting and connecting with you again.
Right.
Doing
remember how ridiculous I am. I feel like all I did was just want to entertain Christie. Like, how could I make her Monday morning? Like, how could I just make Christie? Because Christie was like actually one of the few people that I feel like would always, whether she actually thought it was funny or not, would laugh at me. And so I was like, it always makes me feel good.
I truly do think you're funny though.
I love you. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but holding down the court and the fort in LA, my girl, go Dodgers.
Yes, go Dodgers, finally.
Finally. That's another conversation. We have to talk about that at some point because many things. Many. But I really want your brain is why you're here. And I don't know if I did enough justice. I don't know if anyone could do enough justice in how, I mean, not just your resume, but really your passion for your, like, this space. And it's so important. And that's why and I've been such a girl fan of yours forever, because it's like you really bring the science to something that everybody doesn't really understand is really science. And I think it's nothing. I don't know what to think it is, honestly, magic. So anyway, I love that you bring real science to it and that you've studied the pants off of it. Like, literally you have more degrees than anyone I know on it. And it's real, and you're like, you're doing it, and you're like not even halfway done your life. So I can't even wait to anybody to bring that realness. So but yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna pick your brain. We're just gonna chat with you about it.
I love it. I love this. It's so fun.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, cool. All right, so the first question everybody has for you was, why does it feel so difficult to date these days? Like, why does dating just like, and of course it always feels difficult for everyone, but like these days especially, it just feels like you feel like a big fat loser if you just like can't, it's just like if your dating isn't stellar. Why is that?
Yeah, so I will start the therapy in the question and say that I think part of this is a mindset. So I think oftentimes, and what we know from research about mindset is that if we put out there that we think something's going to be difficult, it often is. And it's not really, I think in pop culture, if you know about self-development, they'll say, law of attraction and things like that. But this is actually backed up in research. Like, if you truly think something's going to be negative, often the experience that you're looking at it from is with a negative lens. So then you're going to pick all the like things that aren't going your way and think, oh, this is negative. And I think the difficult thing about dating in general is that ultimately, even if you go on some good dates or you have some good relationships, until you find your person, it's never really going to feel like you're successful. So that's why people in the journey constantly feel unsuccessful if you're still dating, because you do have this kind of end goal. But I think that on top of it right now, what we're experiencing, obviously with the pandemic and also just everything going on in our country with the anti-racism movement and just a lot of polarization, is it feels like there's even more obstacles that kind of come up in your mindset of, okay, now it's not only do I have to see if I like the person online, I have to navigate when do I feel comfortable meeting them in person, and how do I communicate certain things about my beliefs. So there's all these additional seeming blocks that come up, that all of a sudden, before we've even talked to somebody, we already have this fear and this resistance internally because we assume that it's going to be difficult to, jump through all these hoops. But I think initially it has to start with the mindset of, okay, even if this doesn't turn into my person, what are some of the positives I can take from it? And part of that comes with starting the process with an intentional strategy and mindset, that you're going to kind of honor yourself through it, and you're going to meet the right person, or you're going to do your journey to meet the right person too.
Man, wow. So many things. I feel like I just got a college education in one question. I have more questions to ask her, you guys. This is amazing. I love you so much. No, you said so many things. I think what you really emphasized though too is that, because some people are realizing for the first time, whoa, I look at my dating life like that. I didn't know that. I think that's a big realization for people too. Because and you're right. With the leaning into how we, and our expectations and what we're taking away from it. And, but in reality, it's I think people really miss that part where it's when you go into something hard, if you're going to lose weight and, get in shape, you're all right, I know this is going to blow in some capacity and I'm willing to deal with a lot of pain to get the result. But in dating, we're not really taught that what that feels like. So when you shift that, then your strategy and the way you look at it becomes so much more pleasant and lovely. And then you'll actually likely see more results you want because you're jiving a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. And it's similar. I like your analogy with health. It's it's a lot easier to kind of celebrate small wins if you're on a health journey. If you've trying to, lose some weight and you lose a few pounds. And I know that's your background, obviously, Elisa, so you're the expert in that, but it's oh, okay. I'm putting work in and I'm seeing results. But with dating, it feels like we don't know how to quantify those little wins. So it's everything feels like a loss until you're in a relationship and maybe, have the desired outcome that you want. So we really have to figure out what are the little wins here, even if it's not, the end destination. And I think part of that's an inside job too.
Yeah, you're so right. Oh my gosh, you're so right. No, and that flows really, really well into the second one. Sorry, control room. I keep hitting them. Bam. Okay. Next question was, why should singles approach, or how should the singles approach dating right now? So, and maybe we covered that already a little bit, but in terms of, I think especially a little bit differently since, singles, so many of us so many of them are already online, and now everybody really is, whether you like it or not. How do you suggest that they look at it, maybe that they haven't, in a way that they haven't been before?
Yeah. So the way that I'm coaching clients right now through the pandemic to date is be really clear on who you are, first of all. So now is a really good opportunity to know about yourself, kind of do some reflective work with a coach or therapist or somebody if there's some past relationship trauma kind of coming up for you. First, know yourself. Second, know really what you're looking for. So dating is where's Waldo? If you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to be really hard to spot when you find him. But Waldo, we all know what we're looking for. And we know it's, even though it is a little bit difficult to find him sometimes, we know we can find him. So I think a lot of times people go into dating, but they don't know what they're looking for. And then they're discouraged when they don't find it. But it's you're setting yourself up for failure. So you really have to know what you're looking for. And, in matchmaking, we talk about the fact that you set up your must-haves, your like-to-haves, your can't-haves, and you're going into the online dating process with what I call the silver bullet swipe. So that's your one thing that you're okay, you really want someone who seems like they have a stable career, or you really want someone who's from a certain faith background. So when you go on the app and you're swiping, that's your main thing. And if they meet that, you're not then analyzing, oh, I don't like their hair or whatever. No, they met that thing, you're swiping them to the next round. And I think, so that's the second thing, knowing what you're looking for, and then kind of knowing how to move through the process. So I always say that dating apps are a tool, and it's how you use them. So similar to, Lisa's amazing at makeup, obviously, as you can see, so beautiful. But the same person that buys the same product she does from Sephora can apply it in a totally different way and not look as amazing as her. So the way that I say that is you can use the tool in a way that's going to help you get the result you want, or you can use the same tool. You could spend the same $500 at Sephora and not look anywhere near that. So we really have to learn how to use the tool to get to that conversation and connection, rather than get stuck on, messaging forever, or meeting too quickly without knowing more about the person, or just being focused on the wrong things. So it's really a lot of the background work that you have to do beforehand. So you're going in really focused and intentional. So you're not setting yourself up for frustration or failure.
Yeah, no. And I love that. And intention. And again, this is a little bit of, if you're not willing to intentionally date, like, we're not your hood, because it's going to be, it's a mess. It's a mess because of that. And a little bit of, again, and we're comparison town, which is so good though, about health, where it's like, if anybody who's ever tried to improve their health or get in shape did not just it didn't just happen. We didn't just be like, oh, I just wish it would, it didn't just hit you. You didn't just lose the weight. You didn't just, you worked your ass off. You worked your freaking ass off. And so with your love life, it's like, understand that this innate nature for you to have this, to know what to do without asking questions, throw that out the window. That's not real. Like, I hate whoever forced that in our brain, that we would have this innate, I'm going to know what to say and what to do is going to come to you at the right moment, because nobody does. And everybody gets really on themselves about it, and they stay isolated. So I love that you're shedding to light, where it's like, yo, the minute you're like, oh, it's cool that I don't know that, the same way I didn't know that I needed to eat this way and work out this way to lose weight. Oh, okay. Get past that. We're all about that humility here. Like, get humble, and then you'll get laid.
Yeah. And I think that's the number one thing. I mean, we see it sometimes in matchmaking, is like, people are just coming with that, okay, like, this is what I'm ordering and you're going to deliver on it. But it's like, we're not willing to be part of the process of improvement to get that person. So that's the number one thing I tell clients. If you want someone who's financially secure, financially literate, check in on your own financial literacy. Like, do you need to work on that yourself? Because you don't want to just find somebody that allows you to not do the work that you need to do on yourself, because that just leads to disaster down the road. So work more on, if you want someone who's really committed in their faith or something, like, work on that in yourself, so you can kind of embody those things. And then abundance, breeds abundance. So then you can find someone who's like that, rather than, often we used to get this a lot in matchmaking too. Is like, okay, I want someone who's super fit, but then they no matter what their body type looked like, they didn't work out at all. I'm like, well, actually, if someone's, a gym rat and at the gym for 5 hours a night, and you like watching Netflix, this is not going to go well.
I remember how sweet you are. I'm literally like, you piece of shit. You do not work out. You want that? And you're just so sweet about it. Like, you should be. I'm like, get your ass.
You were my balance. But yeah, it's so funny, because we think that that's going to let us get away with not doing the work, but it's really not. So you just have to work on the things that are important to you, and then see that kind of come through in dating.
Yeah, no. And I think that that's really, really right. And I really want, and I think a lot of people too, and they're like, okay, we get it. Like, all these things I have to consider before I date. But I think a lot of people do create connections, and they're just unclear of what to do next, and or what. And I think a lot of people get so flattered by a connection, they might get a little clouded if it's the right one or not. But even still, and that's a little bit of try again. But what advice do you have for somebody who's looking to advance a relationship organically? If they've made a new connection, and what else can they do past on the highs or the initial blah blah blahs? What would you suggest? What subjects, how many times before it should be the next level, whatever that is?
Yeah. So there's a book called 8 Dates by John Gottman. Highly recommend. He's a really well-known psychologist on dating and relationships. He has a lab in Washington that they can predict basically if a marriage is going to end up in divorce, just watching video of the marriage for 30 minutes. So they're on it with the research. And in this book specifically, he kind of tries to go back and say, okay, these are topics and dates of this is how you get to know somebody enough to know if they're the right person. And I use that book a lot, and I coach my clients a lot on just getting to know things about somebody. I think within 5 to 8 dates, you should know someone's going to be like a potential prospect. Obviously, there's some things you won't learn later down the road, but I think that one thing I really recommend, and he talks a little bit about this in the book, but going into kind of context dates at some point. So you're not just talking across, the dinner table or drinks for many consecutive dates, because there's a lot that you can't learn about a person unless you see them in different environments and contexts. So an example of this, in matchmaking, we would get a lot of people saying, oh, I want someone who's really kind, and then, but that's not something you can ask, like, hey, are you a nice person? Like, no, that's not a, actual thing to ask them. And so that would be difficult for us because we're like, I don't know, so that's the sort of thing that you have to get to know by like seeing how they are, how are they when we're walking down the street? Like, are they considerate? Are they opening the door for you? Like, those are context clues that can tell you more about their character than just talking back and forth, because anybody can talk a big game, but you really have to get to know about them over time. So that's like really important. And then I always think that it's really important to talk, ask questions about their past, present, and future. So past, we want to know a little bit about past relationships. Are there any patterns? How do they talk about their exes, and what sort of resolve do they have from that? And a misconception that is really common is that it's the amount of time that tells you if somebody's over their ex or not, but it's truly not. There's people that I worked with that have been out of a relationship or marriage for like 6 months and are just really clean energy, ready to move forward. There's people who are nursing wounds for like a decade, and so that I would say are not emotionally healthy to like move on. So you want to know a little bit more about kind of their context, and I would say talking about this more towards like the fourth to fifth date is more appropriate, not on the first date. Second, present. So like, how are they right now in their life? Are they happy in their job? Are they happy, with their life? Are they the type of person that's more grateful or more resentful? So knowing about how they're in the present, are they connected on dates, or they feel like they're distracted? Do you feel energized when you're with them, or do you feel kind of like you have to do all the work? And then future. So future goals, like where do they want to go? Are those aligned with you? I think this is a really common thing that we don't ask enough about. And then, we'll be like halfway in, oh, okay, like you don't want kids, or you don't want this or whatever. It's like, what? So you really want to figure that out, like within those 5 dates, to see if you guys are going on the same path.
Yeah, no, oh my gosh, so many things. And it's so clear. And I love you too, because you just literally gave so many solutions. Like, so there's no excuses. Like anybody that's here that's like hasn't actively done any of those things. Yeah. Because the minute you do any of those things, you will see such a strong shift, because we just don't know to look there.
Right.
You said something really key about getting to know somebody over time. And I think everybody, especially again, going back to the idea that you make a connection with somebody and you get kind of flattered when you guys, even if they say something remotely interesting, how do you know if someone's into you? Like, so how do you know, even if it's on the light, or even if they're on the right level or not right level, or, how do you know if somebody authentically is into you, or if they're showing you the right signals, or if it's, something else?
Yeah, so this has a lot to do with intentionality and initiative. So if they're really interested in you, they're going to be asking you questions back. So if you're asking all the questions and they're answering, you can tell this from messaging on the app. If they're not asking you anything, or it's nothing really in depth, or they have like one word, yeah, no, like probably not. Either there's something lacking in initiative, or there's something going on. So potentially not interested. And then, so that's more of intentionality. And second is initiative. So are they trying to get you to a phone call, or a virtual date, or in-person date, or are we like just in this pen pal like dynamic? And so that's another thing. And I really empower a women in like heterosexual relationships. I really empower women to like move that along. Like, I think that a lot of times on dating apps, there's a lot of gray areas. So women are like, oh, I want the guy to make the first move. Okay. Asking for a video chat or a phone call is not the first move, in my opinion. Like, that kind of hint to them that you're interested, connect over phone, and then they can take it from there. But right now there's so much like going on. There's so many hurdles to jump through. I think if you're interested, like moving it along and seeing if they're open to that connection is totally fine. So I think that that's like those are some signs to look for. But if you are interested and you're not really sure and the messaging is going a little bit too far, like go ahead and ask for a phone call or video date. There's not really much you can lose there.
Yeah, no, and it's true. And again, I love talking about expectations always, because I think I think a lot can be learned, and your life can be changed very quickly when you just get your head wrapped around expectations that we're not taught.
Right.
So and I think a lot of this goes into the traditional, like you just brought it up too, about, if you're a woman, or a man or whoever, and you're wanting to spearhead and get something to happen, then do it. What do you say in terms of really, what do you expect from somebody new? Like if I'm dating somebody new or talking to somebody new, what should I expect from that person? And I think, especially for women, to know what to expect from guys, right? Because it's already very confusing about how to approach them and when to approach them and what to say. And, we're expecting these men who are not very intuitive creatures by nature anyway. So like, they bomb on dates. How are they going to do well on the internet? So it's like, these again. So what would you say to women? What should they expect from a guy when they're talking to somebody new on dating? Like, what should they expect from him, and stop being so disappointed?
Yeah. So I would say like expression of interest, meaning if they match with you, there's message, or if you message first, they message back. So obviously there's some kind of reciprocity there. And then also, like I said, asking questions, kind of paying attention or being specific on, what they see on your profile. So those are some things that I think are good signs. But like you said, it's like we have to empower ourselves to communicate if there are expectations. So if you really want the guy to pick out the place or whatever, you can set that tone. You can be like, hey, if they ask, oh, where do you want to go? Oh, I'd love if you chose, like, I like trying new things. Like, go for it. If that's what you expect, then they will make a mental note. Oh, okay. She likes when I kind of take charge, and then I'm going to do that. So there's nothing off limits. I think that we kind of put ourselves in a corner when we don't empower ourselves and be really communicative.
Yeah, no. And again, that's a big eye opener for a lot of people, whether that's happening or it's not happening. And I think what you actually explained really well, and you've done it so many times over the years that I've known you, is sort of like, it's so strange, especially when people have had relationships in the past, and then, they're on to a new one, and maybe that one relationship they had a long time. And so they're trying to fall in love again, and they're basing that feeling off of the thing that they felt when they were 15 years old, and they might be 47 or 38 or whatever the case is. And so I would love for you to give us a little love 101 in terms of, no matter how old you are, what kind of feelings should I expect when I fall in love with someone new? And no matter how old you are, how do I not mistake that for like true love or whatever it is? What kind of feeling should I expect from someone new? No matter how old you are, this happens to everyone.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and there's a saying in Buddhism that when you meet the right person for you, it's not all these like butterflies, whatever. It's actually like the opposite. It's actually like calm and peace and all that. So I love that saying and that kind of aligns with research in psychology, that basically if you meet someone and you're like, this is the one, love at first sight. I don't know if you guys watched The Bachelorette, but we kind of just saw that all go down with Claire. It was like, this is my, walk out the limo. This is my yeah, maybe that could, maybe, but we have to kind of allow the process to take its toll and to differentiate if that's just kind of lust or if it's really like has potential there. But I would say, in one of my psychology professors used to say, if you ever have that feeling like this is my soulmate, you should run the opposite direction, because there is actually something there that's triggering some past trauma that makes you feel like, oh, this is my person. I would say most of my successful couples didn't have that. Everything's butterflies and we know they're the right person on the first date. So that's why we always say, like, give it a second date. But I do think that that's a good sign in the first date is if you feel like you can be yourself and you don't feel like you're kind of putting on an air or trying to be someone they like or trying to kind of navigate it. You just kind of feel at ease and authentic. And that's like a dynamic. That means that they're being authentic and you're able to feel that way too. So that's a really good sign. And I also think that if there's that potential for the emotional intimacy, like you're kind of asking, you're feeling like they're connecting with you, the nonverbals are there, then that shows a good sign of intimacy in other ways down the road, like physical, intellectual, spiritual. So that's a good sign as well. If you feel like you're connecting with them and you feel that they're connecting with you and there's that like presence. So and that's a tip I give all my clients, like pretend that they're the only person in the room, like all your attention there, because that really makes people feel valued and cared for. So yeah, those would be some of my signs, but I think you really have to know over time. I always joke with my clients that if I ever wrote a book, it would be called Consistency Over Time. Like that's how we know that there's the consistent character over time.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I mean, there's no way you're working on some sort of a book. Like it's you.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said you heard it here first.
I know, but you know who did, because it's you. And it's but I can't, obviously, and I will be at all of your book tours, and I will open for you. I'll be your intro.
Oh my goodness. Do it. That was amazing.
Obviously, so fun. All right, back to this, because this could derail really fast, because we have a good girl romance. Right? Okay. So, but my real question for you was, and I think you kind of mentioned this, but I think it's so helpful for people to boil these things down into like digestible milestones, like you were saying, the small wins. Mm-hmm. So when somebody's meeting somebody new, like what are these things that they can keep in mind as maybe even little check marks? Like, okay, this is like, even when I do trigger or I go somewhere that I'm recognizing that I'm not behaving in the way I'm supposed to, like, how do I check them? Like, okay, that's all I needed to do today for my, I've kind of did my 10,000 steps today for my, we kind of need that modulation. Without it, you just fail, right?
Totally. Anyway. Yeah. And so the mantra that I really take into the how do we have little successes in the dating journey is like, we do the work, but we release ourselves from the results. So this game is really not we can't be results oriented when we're going to feel like we're really making some steps towards our goal. We really want to be more oriented on what we can control. So there's a lot of things that we can't control about finding the right person. This is time and this is chemistry. We all know timing and chemistry, it's just kind of out of our hands, and God or, life has to align those things. But there are things that you can control. So we really have to work on the column that we can control so that when the right person comes, it's not we have already taken care of those categories. So that's really how we have to approach it. Right. So those things are our own like emotional and psychological health, like making sure we've worked through and bring those things into awareness. Second is time and our investment in that process. So it's what you're bringing to it, how serious you are, and how intentional you are about investing that time, and also investment of resources. So like getting a coach, getting a therapist, all of that, those are things that you can control as well. So we really have to put everything into the buckets that we can control. And so one thing that I think is a really easy way to win this is by really making a plan, like a dating strategy for yourself, as far as what's going to keep you, we're in this for the long haul, kind of. Well, we don't really know. But we could be in it for the long haul. So we really have to monitor and track our like energy and what's really overwhelming. Like, is it really serving you to be on 20 apps and being on, messaging people for 5 hours a day? Probably not. Like, you need to conserve your energy and be smart about being resourceful with that. So like maybe it's 2 times a day, or like in the morning, I'm swiping for 20 minutes. And then in the evening, I'm like an hour to message back and swipe more. Okay, cool. I did that, like done. Move like on to the next day. So those are things you can control and you can create structure around, so it feels like you are doing something to move the needle. And that's kind of investing your part and energy, rather than feeling like, oh my goodness, like I'm never gonna find the right person. You can kind of give yourself that comfort and say, no, like I did my part today. I did the swiping when I said I would, and like, or I went on the date or whatever. So kind of creating that structure around it helps you keep track.
Yeah. No, I'm totally feeling you. And so in that same notion too, would you say like you could use those same tools as pillars to sort of figure out if like what you're doing is right or wrong. Like, because I think a lot of people, especially in the love space, they go by this feeling, like intention, like what feels like the natural thing to do, therefore it should be the thing that I do. When in case, because they're following the instinctual thing from their past that they probably shouldn't be, it's sabotaging them. So would you say in terms of like kind of those kind of very sort of not objective, but just sort of outside little flags that you have, are little notches that kind of keep you in check, like, no, even though I feel this way, I need to be doing that. So would you use those same tools to kind of check yourself to know, okay, what I am saying is right, even though I'm feeling this way, and I know that's not the right way to be feeling right now?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the big question to ask yourself, if it's doing or saying what you're doing or saying is right, is going underneath that to the why. So like, it's like, why do you feel like you need to do this or that? And once you have clarity on that, you can really figure out if it's right for you or not. And we're kind of in an experiment when we're online dating, and there's no like one road that I could give formula that's worked for everybody. I've had some super surprising matches come through that I was like, but no idea if these people are going to hit it off, and then they're worried. And then there's other people that I was like, oh my gosh, these people are soulmates. This is going to work. And then the date like went nowhere. So we don't really know that much about it. But I think that underneath that, when you ask yourself, okay, like, why do I feel like I should be doing this or that? Then you can see if that aligns with your values. So an example of that with the client that I had is she seemed to like always, she had her, things that she was looking for, but then she seemed to always compromise them and then when we went to the deeper why, why do you feel like something that's important to you is having that financial stability? And then you keep being okay dating guys that like have no ambition and just no like job or whatever. And the underneath was her why, which was that she feels like she's asking for too much. And then we went back and did work around, okay, like where in your life have you felt like you're too much? And like, that came out all over the place. So it's like, she's relived this pattern here that she thought it was right because she's like, friends were saying, oh, you're too picky or whatever, but it was actually not the right thing. So you have to kind of go beneath of like the why. Are you doing that because you really want the person to like you? Are you doing it because it aligns with your values?
Right. Oh yeah. So many things. Oh my gosh. I'm like, it's so funny because I'm like unpacking it. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like listening to that. I'm like, oh, that one too, and that one too. I'm like amazing. But I think you keep saying it too, but I really want people to hear it from you. And I'm sorry for all these questions. I definitely gave you more questions than I ask most of my guests because I'm so excited for you to talk to you. So I'm like, this one. I'm sorry. I promise I have two more. Okay. I want to know, okay, so what are the big mistakes? Because I think a lot of people are self-aware enough, especially when they hit their 30s and 40s, that if they're single and they've been trying it, like, all right, like I'm not perfect at this. I'm doing something wrong. What is it? So what would you say, in your opinion, are the biggest mistakes that people do when they're trying to get back out there in any capacity?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that first, like I mentioned, that they're not really clear about what they're looking for and who they want. The second is that they overload the system. So they are going on like 2 or 3 dates a night. They're just kind of treating it like it's like a business consult. Okay, next, on to the next. And they're not thinking about the process part, which is your energy, what you bring to the date really makes a huge impact. So you really have to think of it more as like, okay, when do I feel most myself and my best self? Okay, maybe it's a Saturday, so I'm only going to date that day. I'm only going to go on one date this week, and it's going to be that day. This like quantity over quality thing. So really focus on quality, I think, is another mistake. And then I also think that, and right now we're kind of seeing an interesting positive from this through COVID, is that people are getting to know each other a lot more emotionally before the physical side heats up. And there's been some research on this that's kind of interesting in that, we have different levels of intimacy. And often, when we feel like we're really attracted to somebody and then we hook up on the first night or something, the physical intimacy is like up here, and then the emotional, mental, spiritual intimacy doesn't really have time to catch up. But if we feel like we're all kind of doing it at the same rate, that has more potential to build a foundation where a relationship can kind of come from that. So that's something to think about. And with COVID right now, I think a lot of people are like, okay, what are the physical like bound? I encourage all my clients to kind of be okay with where they're at with, dating people or hooking up on the first day, or knowing if, where someone else is at with how strict or not that they are with like quarantining and things like that. But it's been an interesting thing because we're asking a lot more questions. We're getting to know each other a lot more via video dates. And then you can kind of think more clearly about if someone's a good fit for you before that part kind of takes it out of the potential for the other parts to catch up.
Yeah, it's literally like the best case scenario. Some people just want to complain. There's always those people, but it's like, guys, there's a pandemic, and now like you really don't have to go meet this person. You actually like figure out if they're time. We're just doing what matchmakers do anyway, which is like force this FaceTime to figure out who this person is before you go out with them.
Yeah. I think that the virtual date should be the new first date because it saves so much time, and makeup, For
real. Well, especially these ladies. I mean, I can't tell you how many gals who are like talking, they're talking to these guys, and I'm like, if he smells fishy at all, video chat, be done. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I wanted one more question for you. Then I know you're like busy lady, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I love that you even are here. When you're choosing, what tips do you have for people when they're choosing a dating platform? And I think this is important for so many reasons, because I'm not sure people understand that there's quite a large scale of different ways that you can date. There's a lot of different ways that you can invest when you date. And I don't just mean financially, but I mean emotionally. And I think, again, once you've understood, okay, me dating randomly is different than me hiring a matchmaker, or me, hiring a date coach or joining a group or whatever. So especially people who are not really sure where they're at or what to do, like what tips would you have for somebody when they're choosing these things?
Yeah, shameless plug. I have an assessment on my website. You can download that freebie. But so the way that I help people figure out what dating app is right for them is it's a combination of your personality and your preferences, kind of when you feel like the most aligned and your best self in dating, as well as kind of what you're looking for. So if you're looking for someone that's not as frequently occurring in society, so an example of, I work with a lot of Armenians, and a lot of Armenians want to date someone who's Armenian. So you need to go on an app that gives you a lot of options, like Bumble. Because there's a lot more potential that there's going to be more Armenian guys, versus if you were on Coffee Meets Bagel and you get 3 matches a day, it's going to take you a lot longer to see potentially an Armenian come through just by, ratio. So if you're looking for some sort of quality that's a lot less occurring in society, you want an app that gives you a lot more choices and a lot more matches. But if you feel like you're more process oriented and what you want, you're not really looking for what I call an expensive trait that it's not as frequently occurring in society, then I would say trying to use an app like Hinge or Coffee Meets Bagel or The League. One of those apps might be better because it helps you to narrow down what you're looking for. It doesn't overwhelm you by thinking you can kind of just swipe forever. And I usually will recommend, kind of, if you feel comfortable enough, using one that's a little bit more selective and potentially a paid one like eHarmony or Match, as well as one that's like a swipe app. So usually I'll recommend Bumble shamelessly. My husband and I met on Bumble. But usually I'll recommend like Bumble and either like one of eHarmony, Match, or Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel, and use both of them just to kind of see. And something that I hear a lot is like, oh, I saw this guy in another app, and it's like, doesn't matter. Right. They're looking for someone great, like should be on any they want. So so that's the stigma that comes up. But I think kind of paying attention to yourself and starting out slow, starting with one, and then once you feel comfortable, you have a rhythm, you have a structure, you can add another one. Don't try to go on every app and just overwhelm yourself.
Right? Why do we do that? We just love to overwhelm ourselves. And you're saying so many great things about like in terms of how to choose different things. And I think that's important that you pointed out that it's not, so many people are like, oh, this app is better, but it's like, it's not the app, it's the tool. It's a tool. Exactly. Because like you said, there's the same person's on different apps. So it's not like a better community, it's a better tool or a different tool. So when you know that, it's like, if you don't know how to use these tools, then you can work with people, aka you, to figure out the best way to do that. And frankly, a lot of your problems could be solved by doing that. And yes, of course, shameless plug. We have all these things, but we have Dr. Christie Kederian. Did I say your name right, by the way? Did I say you're married?
It's easier than my maiden name.
I know. I was going to say, at your maiden name. I was like, so many years we butchered that one, but that's okay. Yes, Dr. ChristieKederian.com. And then also, I know you're amazing on Instagram. If you're really give amazing tips and things. Date Dr. Christie is your Instagram handle, which is so phenomenal. And yeah, if you guys seriously, if there's any way, shape, or form, if you're just like remotely a human that just needs some guidance and direction, like this, she's got everything, and you need to go check her out, and she can do all that stuff. Thank you for playing with me tonight. I am like, and for real, that's offline where I can obviously just hear all about your life and your all that good stuff. But I'm so happy you're holding it down in LA on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us, and give love to your man for us.
Thank you. Thanks, Elisa. Yours too. This was so fun.
Good. Yes, girl. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for chatting with us.
Bye.
Bye, my love. Bye. Oh, love her so much. Obviously, I don't even have to tell you why. But anybody that loves their craft as much as she does, and really like puts I think what's the coolest thing about Christie when so I'm like getting my notes back here because I hate to look at myself when I do this. I think my favorite thing about Christie is that there's so many people that just talk the talk, like obviously, especially when you live in LA, right? Everybody talks the talk, but Christie's just like, she just does things, like, and she does it thoroughly. It's not even like she just like does things and isn't prepared. It's like every time I would see her, she's putting together an event, or she's organizing a group, and she's got this community and this network, and it's so empowering to see somebody who's, my age doing these things and really a doer and doing it actively well in the community. And so anyway, that's why you guys know I only bring on not only good friends of mine, but really people who know what they're doing, right? Because listen, time is short, and you got to make sure you don't waste it. Anyway, so go check her out, Dr. Christie Kederian. .com. She's amazing. And of course, I'm going to bring her back on as much as she'll let me, because I'm obsessed with her always. And so, okay. So what do we think about all this, you guys? Inevitably, what do we pull from all this? Because, I think we could dissect, look at my notes. We could dissect all these things, but I really want you guys to think about a couple quick questions. And then I want you guys to watch a quick package from one of our current members. But what's your goal? All right. What's your goal when we're dating? Okay. And I'm just going to go through these because Christy and I talked a lot already. Second question is, do you know what the real problem is? Because if we don't know the goal, maybe that's the problem. Or if you do know the goal, maybe the problem is that it's too specific, or it's too, your expectations are out of place. Right. So we need to start dissecting these things. Third question I have for you is, what can I do to change this? What can you do to change this? Right? It's fine. It's fine if you didn't do it, or your life isn't different. That's okay. But it's what are you doing after the fact? What are you actively doing to change your circumstances? Because everybody hates a negative Nancy. Like, everybody hates the person that bitches time after time about their shitty love life when they haven't done anything to actually work on it. So don't be that person. Work on for you and everyone else that has to listen to you. Do the things that are being presented to you, take the tools that are in front of you, and help yourself become happy, because they actually do love you. And then the third question, or the last question I have for you, is why are you here? Right? Like, why? Like, you know what you're going to do to change it. And whenever you question yourself, because it's scary, I understand that. Wouldn't be in the space if I didn't understand that. But just why are you here? Like, if you want to be in love, which is our human nature, you want to have a connection, you need to be with a human, the companion. There's a reason we pair up, and we have since the dawn of man. It's literally in our biology. So just remind yourself, okay? It's the bigger picture. That's why you're here. All right. So enough of this. Christy talked a lot about expectations, all these things tonight. I'm going to let you hear it from one of our current members, Sarah. She says it. We had a really, really funny chat. Really makes me laugh. Anyway, check it out. I'll let her talk. When you have these things out, the quality guys go away. And then the guys who are left are the crazy guys who come out and have no filter and they have no problem sending you dick pics. Girl, you give yourself those goosies first and then he'll come running. You know what I mean? No, but for real, you want the right guys to come to you. Here they come. They smell it. Come like, woo, like moths to a flame. Talk to me, lady. What's going on?
The dating has been such a shit show. I can't even. These dudes, I'm over it.
Hear you, sister. 100%. 100%. Take the kind of guy out of your head for a sec. If you could, like, when you're manifesting.
Actually, I wrote it down.
Yes, let's go get it. I want to bring this up because I think it's why you're so ungodly frustrated. And a lot of this, not because you don't deserve these things, but a lot of times we put the responsibility on the men to make us feel these things when in reality, half of those things have to do with you and not him. Girl, you give yourself those goosies first and then he'll come running. You know what I mean? No, but for real, you know law of attraction. Give yourself those goosies. You will vibrate and you want the right guys to come to you. Here they come. They smell it. They feel it. They're like, woo, like moths to a flame. When you have these things out, it's separate. Then they feel that. And then the quality guys go away because they're like, that is like one tall tower. I am not interested in climbing because it's like, whoa, like that's a lot. And then the guys who are left are the crazy guys who come out and have no filter and they have no problem sending you dick pics. We just went through all the stuff you don't want and all the stuff you do want. Why aren't we there yet? Like, what's stopping you from getting there, do you think?
That's a really good question. I never had a problem finding decent guys to date. Never. It just seems like now I'm like, what? Am I on a different planet all of a sudden? Because I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, you're 13 years older. It's different. It's light years different.
This is a shit show. This is
the first thing to readjusting your expectations is that falling in love and finding the right person at this point in your life is going to be light years different than when it was 13 years ago. Like, it's just going to be totally different. That shock, like, of that, like, am I a different planet? You actually are. Like, the way people fall in love, the way people communicate is so different even from 13 years ago, where just even the different cues that people take, the different information that people take, it is a different time. And so you should think of yourself as, I'm learning how to date all over again. Like, okay, let me reset. Where are my tools? And like, where should I be? Where are my sisters at? Like, what do I need to know? Having a vetting system of the things that matter to you is important. And that's what makes you a smart dater. The people who are extra charming that go out of their way to get your attention, your flag should go up immediately because those are the scammers, those are the boys, those are the assholes. So if you're going to accept a whole bunch of friend requests from guys on Facebook, great. Make sure that, like, hey, Elisa, I'm talking to Joe, Johnny, and Bart. Can you check him out on me? I'm like, he's legit. He's not, blah, blah, blah. That way you can stop wasting your time and really just streamline your dating. To start to date the guys who actually are worth their salt. Because the reason you're not meeting them is because they're quite quiet. Because they're smart and they're working. Also, I got somebody else in my waiting room. I got to go let him in, but I adore you. I love you. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so pumped. And welcome to the community. And can't wait to get you that man. Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye, honey. Bye.
Bye.
I think everybody can relate, especially in that regard. We think that, where's the line between writing down what I want versus what I need versus what I deserve versus what things you can ask for and what things you can't, right? When Christie was talking a lot about that, it's okay if you don't know these things. Innately, we're really not taught what's the difference between an unconditional value versus a conditional value. But anyway, for another episode, I think y'all are ready for some hanging out. And I really want you guys to be the ones to tell me. And I have another poll for you. Question of the night. And then we'll peace out. But I do want to know if you could paint your ideal situation. If you've been watching this and you're like, okay, I've had a moment to think about it. If you could paint your ideal situation right now, what would it look like? And be honest, please. Are you in the camp of, honestly, I haven't thought about it? Is that bad, right? Is that you? Are you A? Are you B? No games. You're seeking committed relationship. That's your team. Or are you C? You're seeking something, casual, or you're just into casual and you're not seeking commitment because your reason. And if you pick C, you have to give a reason. If you don't give a reason, then you're not seeking something adult. Frankly, you're not seeking anything. So please answer in the comments A, B, or C and give some contexture why. Please give some context why, because we want to know. Okay. So after that, the last question I have for you guys is what's your next step, right? I like to talk a lot about next steps because none of this matters. There's different ways you can slice the bread and cut the pie or whatever the phrase is. But, geez, I feel like this hair in my eyelash and I can't get it out, but you guys can't see it, right? Oh, I just got it. Of course I just got it. All right, there we go. I know you guys were so worried about my hair and my eyelash. Okay. All right. Anyway, sorry. Back to what I was saying. Your next step. Okay. So if you guys don't actually move forward with a plan or actually do something, then you're just going to be that person that whines all the time. And then every Thanksgiving, you're going to be that person that's still single and annoyingly teased by the relatives, which sucks. So next step, I've given you so many options. My girl Christy gave you so many options, but the easiest one you can do if you're looking for a vetted community or you're looking for those tools that we talked about, meetamatchmaker.com. That is where my people live, where I live. There's tools, there's more date pros just like Christy hanging out in there, giving the tips, giving the advice. These are all the things that you need in order to get to that love life you tell me you want. So if you actually want those things and you just don't know where to go, that's where you go. Okay, cool. If you guys have any questions, really, that's why we're here. So did you find this valuable? Was this valuable? Yes or no? And if it wasn't, what more would you like to see? Be respectful, of course, but please, what more would you like to see? And if it was, what part of this video did you like the best? Put the timestamp below, and we'll pin you to the top. Let us know what's the best part of the video. Okay, that's all you guys for now. I hope you had a great Wednesday night. I'll see you here next Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Matchmaker Live, here answering all of your questions. Until then, I will see you.